Imagine this, a cold evening in London. The massive Buckingham Palace stands quietly in the darkness. Outside, there are cameras, reporters, and the eyes of the world. But very few people know what is happening behind those stone walls. And sometimes, the decisions that change history are made behind those closed doors. Over the past few days, reports from Britain and discussions among several royal experts have caught the attention of people around the world, because it is being claimed that Prince William, the heir to the throne, could one day take a step that may not only affect one royal family member, but could also change the entire structure of the British royal family. If there is even a little truth in these discussions, then, in the coming years, the royal identity of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie, and Lilibet could become a part of history forever. But the question is, what has really changed? Why is Prince William, who was once seen as a calm, balanced, and highly disciplined future king, now at the center of such serious discussions? The answer can be found in the events that have repeatedly challenged the image of the British monarchy over the past few years. First came Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to step away from the royal family, then their interviews, the memoir, public accusations, and after that, the growing tension within the family. On the other hand, there was the controversy involving Prince Andrew, which raised serious questions about the reputation of the monarchy for years. These two situations brought the British monarchy to a point where it was no longer just about protecting its public image. It became a question about the future of the institution itself. It is in this context that new discussions are now emerging. According to reports, Prince William believes that the future monarchy cannot remain the way it was in the past. Many royal analysts say that he supports a smaller, more focused, and more accountable monarchy, where royal status is limited only to those who are actively carrying out official royal duties. That is why Prince Andrew's name is once again making headlines. It is being reported that William believes the steps taken so far have not been enough. Although these claims have not been officially confirmed, many media reports continue to suggest that even stricter decisions regarding Andrew's royal privileges could be made in the future. But this is where the story becomes even more interesting, because the discussion is not limited to Andrew alone. It is being said that if a new legal approach is taken in the future regarding royal titles and privileges, its impact could also reach the Sussex family. That means Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their children, Archie and Lilibet, could also become part of a new debate over royal titles. One important thing to remember is that any major constitutional change in Britain requires the involvement of Parliament. That means the wishes of a future king alone would not be enough. The legal process, parliamentary support, and constitutional rules would all be part of any such decision. Even so, these discussions have raised one question that people around the world are now asking. Is the British monarchy really preparing for its biggest transformation? Or are these simply growing speculations that time will eventually prove true or false? But in the middle of all this, there is another factor that has made these discussions even more intense, and it is directly connected to the health of King Charles. This is the point where the entire story becomes even more sensitive, because over the past few months, it is not only the royal controversies that have been making headlines. King Charles's health has also remained a major topic of discussion. According to reports, Charles is undergoing cancer treatment. Even so, he has continued many of his public engagements and has tried to send the message that the monarchy will not step back from its responsibilities. But after every public appearance, one new question continues to arise. Is the British monarchy slowly entering a period where the role of the future king is becoming more important than ever before? Recently, King Charles visited Manchester, where he visited the synagogue that was targeted in an attack that shocked the entire country. The visit was meant to send a message of unity. But the media was not focused only on his speech. Many people were also watching the tired look on his face, the way he walked, and his overall physical condition. Although Buckingham Palace has continued to say that King Charles is carrying out his constitutional duties while continuing his treatment, many royal experts believe that preparations for the future are also likely taking place behind palace walls. And this is where Prince William's name begins to stand out more than ever before. William is no longer just the heir to the throne. He is the face of the generation that is expected to shape the monarchy of the 21st century. Over the past few years, he has always used careful and measured language in public. He has rarely spoken openly about family disputes, but many royal analysts believe that seeing his silence as weakness would be a serious mistake. Reports continue to claim that William wants a monarchy that is much smaller, more disciplined, and fully accountable than before. A system where royal status is not only a symbol of honor, but also a symbol of responsibility. That is why Prince Andrew's case continues to return to the headlines, and along with it, the future of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle has also become part of the debate. Some royal experts say that if the rules surrounding royal titles are ever reviewed through legal changes in the future, the impact will not be limited to just one person. Instead, it could reshape the entire royal structure. However, it is very important to make it clear that, at this time, there has been no official announcement about removing the royal titles of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie, or Lilibet. For now, this topic remains part of media reports, political discussions, and analysis by royal experts. But history teaches us one thing. The British monarchy has made many decisions that were once considered impossible, and later, those very decisions became history. Perhaps that is why people around the world are closely watching these developments. Because if such a proposal is ever brought before Parliament in the future, its impact will not be limited to just one family. It will also help decide what the British monarchy will look like in the decades ahead. Will it remain an institution based on long-standing traditions? Or will it become a new, smaller, and more controlled system? That is the question that has sparked a new debate in Britain's political and royal circles over the past 48 hours. And if there is even a little truth behind these discussions, then the coming months could become some of the most important months in the history of the British monarchy. But is Prince William really preparing to take such a major step? Will Parliament ever pass such a law? And if that happens, what form will the biggest political and constitutional storm finally take? The answers to these questions will begin to unfold in the next chapter of this story. But before we continue, if you also enjoy in-depth documentaries and analysis about the British royal family, make sure to subscribe to the channel now. It will take just 1 second, but it will be a huge support for us, because the numbers show that more than half of the people watching this video have still not subscribed to the channel. Now, let's return to the biggest royal debate at this moment. Brittany, Dan, if you ask me, I think we should try to understand Prince William's way of thinking, because if his goal is truly to protect the monarchy for the coming decades, then the biggest question for him will be how to preserve the credibility of the institution. In my opinion, the controversies surrounding Prince Andrew and Prince Harry have seriously damaged the public image of the monarchy. And perhaps that is why some royal analysts believe that even tougher decisions could be seen in the future. If that happens, then a review of royal titles could also become part of that process. Of course, any such decision would be extremely bold. Its impact would not only affect the constitutional system, but it would also be clearly felt within the family's relationships. As for Prince Andrew, I don't think the relationship between him and William is as close as it once was. But if I were Prince Harry or Meghan Markle, I would take every report coming out right now very seriously. Because many people believe that when they chose to step away from the royal family and later made public accusations, the distance between both sides continued to grow from that very day. And today, perhaps we are discussing the results of that growing tension. Dan, I agree with you, Brittany, but there is another side to this story, one that very few people openly talk about. That is the flow of information. In Britain, the official media network that covers the royal family, known as the Royal Rota, has been the main source of royal reporting for many years. However, critics believe that reporting on sensitive issues involving the palace is not always as open as many people expect. That is why different kinds of speculation continue to appear regarding King Charles's health and the changing balance of power inside the palace. But I have always believed that every report, every claim, and every discussion should be presented, so that people can understand the difference between facts and claims for themselves. I remember back in 2019 when there were many discussions about the relationship between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the late Queen Elizabeth II. Different claims were also being made at that time. And today, once again, it feels as though the British monarchy is standing at a very important turning point. But in my opinion, the most human part of this entire story is Prince William. According to reports, he has great respect for his father, King Charles. He is also naturally concerned about his father's cancer treatment and health. Perhaps he never imagined that at this stage of his life, while his children are still young, he would have to face such major constitutional and family challenges. But circumstances often make people do things that they never planned for. And many royal analysts believe that if William becomes king in the future, his priority will be a monarchy that is smaller, more accountable, and free from any controversy that could damage the institution's reputation. Brittany, absolutely. And I think the signs of that are already becoming visible. Today's world is no longer the same as it used to be. The monarchy is no longer shaped only by palaces and ceremonies. It is also influenced by social media, digital platforms, and constantly changing public opinion. That is the challenge the British monarchy is facing more than ever before. Many other monarchies around the world are adapting quickly to the modern era, but for the British monarchy, that transformation appears to be much more difficult. And when it comes to the relationship between King Charles and Prince William, there is hardly any doubt. Reports and public statements suggest that William loves his father very deeply. He certainly would not want circumstances to bring him to the throne earlier than expected. But history rarely asks people what they want. It simply writes its next chapter. But before we continue, if you also enjoy deeply researched documentaries and balanced analysis about the British royal family, make sure to subscribe to the channel now. It will take just a moment, but it will be a huge support for us, because the numbers show that more than half of the people watching this video have not yet become part of our channel. So if you want to watch more exclusive and in-depth documentaries like this, subscribe now. And now, let's return to the story that all of Britain is watching right now. Brittany, Dan, if you want my personal opinion, I don't think we should see this entire situation as just a family dispute. It is much bigger than that. It is about the future of the British monarchy. If Prince William truly wants to make the monarchy smaller, more disciplined, and more accountable in the coming years, then he will also have to decide who will be part of that future and who will not. In my view, the controversies involving Prince Andrew and Prince Harry have affected the monarchy's public image for years. That is why many royal analysts believe that decisions which seem impossible today could be made in the future. If that happens, then a review of royal titles could also become part of that process. Of course, such a decision would be one of the boldest constitutional steps in history. Its impact would not be limited to the royal institution alone. It would also leave a deep mark on the relationships within the family. As for Prince Andrew, I don't think the level of trust that once existed between him and Prince William is still there. But if I were Prince Harry or Meghan Markle, I would take every report and every signal coming out right now very seriously. Because many people believe that stepping away from the royal family, followed by the public accusations, only widened the distance between both sides. And perhaps, today, we are watching the next chapter of that long conflict unfold. Dan. I agree with you, Brittany, but there is another side to this story, one that often does not receive the attention it deserves, and that is the control of information. In Britain, the official media network that covers the activities of the royal family, known as the Royal Rota, has been the main source of royal news for many years. However, some critics believe that reporting on highly sensitive palace matters is not always completely open. That is why different claims and speculation continue to appear from time to time regarding King Charles's health, the changing balance of power inside the palace, and the preparations for the future. But I have always believed that every claim, every report, and every point of view should be presented to the public. so that viewers can decide for themselves what is fact and what is analysis. I still remember the year 2019, when there were constant discussions about the relationship between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the late Queen Elizabeth II. Even then, many details were not officially confirmed, but over time, much of that information gradually became public. And today, once again, it feels as though the British monarchy is standing at another defining moment in history. But in my opinion, the most human side of this entire story is Prince William. Reports and public statements suggest that he has deep respect for his father, King Charles. His concern about his father's cancer treatment and health is also completely natural. Perhaps he never imagined that at this stage of his life, when his own children are still young, he would have to face not only the responsibilities of becoming the future king, but also such a major family and constitutional crisis. But history often gives leaders responsibilities before they expect them. And many royal analysts believe that if Prince William becomes king in the future, his priority will be a monarchy that is smaller, more accountable, and free from any controversy that could damage the institution's credibility. Brittany, absolutely. And perhaps we are already beginning to see the first signs of that. The world has changed. Today, the monarchy is no longer defined only by traditions, palaces, and royal ceremonies. Its image is now shaped every day through social media, every video, every public statement, and every digital platform. That is the challenge the British monarchy is facing more than ever before. Many other monarchies around the world have adapted quickly with the changing times. But for the British monarchy, that transformation appears far more complex. And when it comes to the relationship between King Charles and Prince William, reports and their public appearances suggest that there is deep respect and trust between them. William certainly would never want circumstances to bring him to the throne earlier than expected. But history never asks for permission. It simply writes its next chapter. And perhaps the next chapter of the British monarchy is now being written faster than ever before. But in the middle of this entire debate, there is another example that has added even more attention to these discussions. Because this would not be the first time that a European monarchy has taken the difficult step of removing royal titles from members of its own family. In 2022, Queen Margrethe II of Denmark made a decision that made headlines across Europe. She decided to remove the titles of Prince and Princess from her 4 grandchildren, Nikolai, Felix, Henrik, and Athena. At the time, the Queen said that her goal was to give her grandchildren greater freedom to choose the lives they wanted in the future. However, the decision also created disagreement within the Danish royal family. That is why, as new discussions about royal titles are now emerging within the British monarchy, many royal analysts are referring to that earlier example. Dan. And perhaps that is the most important part of this entire story, Brittany. If King Charles does not take any further tough decisions in the coming years, if he does not begin a new process regarding royal titles together with the British government or Parliament, then many analysts believe that this issue could become one of King William's biggest priorities in the future. That is why people say the pressure on Charles continues to grow. Because with every passing day, one question becomes even bigger. Will the current king make a decisive decision? Or will he leave that responsibility entirely to the future king? Brittany. I think Charles is probably already feeling that pressure, but we should also remember that he is not only a king, he is also a father. According to reports, he is undergoing cancer treatment. In a situation like this, perhaps every person's greatest wish is to be closer to their family. If he truly wants to rebuild his relationship with his son, Prince Harry, then on a personal level, I cannot blame him for that. But on the other hand, history does not judge a king only by his personal relationships. History also looks at the decisions he made for the future of the institution. And perhaps that is the biggest challenge King Charles is facing right now. On one side, the heart of a father. On the other, the responsibility of the crown. On one side, family. On the other, an institution that has existed for centuries. And when those two paths collide, every decision becomes more difficult than ever before. In my opinion, if tough decisions are needed in the future to protect the monarchy, then a review of royal titles could also be part of that process. Because many analysts believe that the credibility of any institution depends on whether its rules apply equally to everyone. If the public begins to feel that some people are treated differently, then trust in the institution slowly begins to decline. Of course, no such decision would be easy, because this is not only about constitutional powers, it is also about the future of members of the king's own family. And history has shown that whenever a monarchy has made such difficult decisions within its own family, the impact has never remained inside palace walls alone. Those decisions have sparked national debates, divided families, and left their mark on future generations. That is why the debate taking place in Britain today is no longer only about Prince Andrew, or only about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The question has become much bigger than that. Can the monarchy adapt to the modern world while still protecting its traditions? Or will the price of change have to be paid within its own family? And perhaps the answers to these questions will determine the future of the British monarchy in the months ahead. Dan. And Brittany, I think the situation has changed even more over the past few days, because many royal analysts believe that symbolic actions alone will no longer be enough. If the monarchy wants to strengthen its credibility in the future, it may have to make decisions that are not just symbolic, but also have clear constitutional consequences. That is why the debate over royal titles has become stronger once again. Some commentators argue that if a royal family member has stepped away from official royal duties, then questions about that person's royal status could also arise in the future. However, no official decision has been announced on this matter, but the discussions continue. Meanwhile, royal author Andrew Loney has also said that stronger action is needed regarding the controversies involving Prince Andrew. And now, another issue involving Prince Andrew has come into the spotlight. According to reports, after claims published by the Mail on Sunday, the Metropolitan Police began reviewing the available information. These reports referred to an alleged incident from 2011, claiming that Virginia Giuffre's personal information was passed to a security officer. These claims have been discussed in different places, but reaching any conclusion is a matter for the relevant authorities and the legal process. That is why the debate surrounding Prince Andrew has once again returned to the headlines. Brittany, yes. And perhaps that is why many people are calling for greater transparency in this matter. Whenever a member of the royal family holds a public position or serves in an official role on behalf of the government, it is natural that their decisions and actions come under public scrutiny. That is why many analysts believe that whenever legal or administrative questions arise, a fair and independent investigation is in the best interest of both the institution and public trust. But in my opinion, this is not only about Prince Andrew, it is about the future of the monarchy as a whole. Because it is not only Britain. Several other European monarchies have also faced similar controversies in recent years. Spain, Norway, and other countries have also experienced situations that raised questions about the limits of accountability for members of royal families. Perhaps that is why the discussion has become even stronger, that, in the future, the rules should be much clearer. Rules that apply equally to every member of the royal family. Rules that define not only rights, but also responsibilities. And rules where the consequences of breaking them are also clearly defined. Many analysts believe that if a system has rules, but no effective way to make sure those rules are followed, then over time, the credibility of that system begins to weaken. That is why the biggest debate today is not simply about who is a member of the royal family. It is about what it actually means to be a member of the royal family. Is it just a title, or does it also come with responsibilities that must be fulfilled under every circumstance? That is the question that is being discussed today from Britain's political circles to television studios. And perhaps the answer to that question will shape the future direction of the British monarchy in the years ahead. Because if the institution wants to remain strong for future generations, it must find the right balance between tradition and accountability. And history teaches us that no monarchy becomes great because of its crown alone. It becomes great because of its decisions. And now, the whole world is watching to see when the British monarchy will make its next move, and in what direction. Brittany, and perhaps, if the monarchy goes through a major change in the future, the biggest impact will be on those whose names have been linked to the most controversies: Prince Andrew, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and Sarah Ferguson. In my opinion, if the monarchy wants to maintain its credibility for the coming decades, it must send a clear message to the public that being a member of the royal family is not just an honor, it is an even greater responsibility. Yes, these people are members of the royal family. Yes, they appear at royal events. And yes, their names are connected to the centuries-old institution that the world knows as the British Monarchy. But if this institution is to remain strong in the future, then there must also be a clear code of conduct for every member, a system, where the rules are not only written, but are also properly enforced. And if someone crosses those boundaries, they should also be held accountable, because many analysts believe that the true strength of any institution does not lie in its privileges, but in its accountability. Dan, and perhaps that is the issue that has been developing gradually over the past 2 decades. Brittany, when people say that the British mainstream media covered the cases of Prince Andrew and Prince Harry differently, I think it is just as important to understand the full picture. I say this because in 2011, I was working in a senior position at News of the World. Today, that newspaper is remembered for its controversies. But I have always made it clear that I had no involvement in any illegal activities connected to that organization. At that time, our newspaper was among the first publications to publish photographs related to meetings between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. In my opinion, if the media had not continued asking questions about this issue back then, perhaps the entire matter would never have become such a major public debate. However, that is only my personal view. On the other hand, I have always said that looking at this entire situation as if it is only about one person does not show the complete picture. In my opinion, broader questions should be asked about Jeffrey Epstein's network, connections, and influence. Because for many years, this subject has been part of international public debate and media reporting. But deciding who had what legal responsibility is a matter for the courts and investigating authorities, not the media. There is one more point that is not discussed very often when the legal case involving Prince Andrew was taking place. There were also reports suggesting that there was concern within the royal family that a long legal battle could affect the final years of Queen Elizabeth II and her public duties. People had different opinions about those reports, but they were certainly part of the public discussion at the time. That does not mean anyone's actions should be defended. I have said this before, and I will say it again today. Serious questions have been raised about Prince Andrew's decisions. His relationship with Jeffrey Epstein caused serious damage to his public image, and that is why he faced strong criticism. But if the goal is to uncover the full truth, then any investigation should not be limited to just one person. Wherever the evidence leads, the investigation should go there. And if anyone has broken the law, then accountability should be based on that. That is the basic principle of any justice system. One thing can certainly be said. King Charles took several public steps regarding matters involving his brother, and those decisions showed that even within the monarchy, difficult decisions can be made. Brittany, and perhaps that is the most complex part of this entire story, because as the years passed, the public discussion became focused almost entirely on Prince Andrew, while the wider network connected to Jeffrey Epstein and his other contacts continued to be discussed at different levels. That is why, even today, this case is no longer seen as the story of just one person. Instead, It has become a symbol of much bigger questions about power, influence, accountability, and the justice system. And perhaps that is why this story is still not over. With every new report, every new investigation, and every new debate, its next chapter continues to be written.